Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Istituto Marangoni Milano and the 2024 edition of Front Row. The theme this year is hyper-essentialism, which explores the current evolution of a movement and its impact on collections and consumer choices, which is not expressed through ostentation or through logos, but rather in the form of high-quality fabrics, cuts, and manufacturing. Many fashion collections are involved in essentialism as a new aesthetic that facilitates delivering a message to a larger number of hype-beast consumers. Those simplified codes seem to make use of an apparent visual unification as a key driver to increase system-placed exclusivity and enhance communication immediacy. But is this really what is happening, or is there more? To answer this question, this week we have invited creative directors, fashion commentators, and fashion insiders. And today with us are here Francesca of InsideTheMood, hello, and Hanan Besovic of I Deserve Couture, who will, yes, let's do it. One initial applause, who will converse about their being fierce in fashion. But let me start with the formal introduction to our guests. Francesca is the invisible woman behind the hyper-researched Instagram account InsideTheMood, where she investigates the inspiration behind fashion collections and illustrates how fashion, but also culture at large, lives in cycles. Hanan Besovic is a fashion commentator and founder of the acclaimed Instagram account I Deserve Couture, followed by all relevant fashion insiders, included in Business of Fashion's list of 500 people shaping the global fashion industry, and a familiar and sometimes feared face at fashion shows and all the fashion weeks. So now, without further ado, I leave the stage to you two and to your conversation. Thank you very much.
Is it working?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you hear us? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Hi, everybody. How are you? All good? Perfect.
Yes.
Yay, excited for the talk. I never met you before, so it's nice to connect a face.
To be honest, we met.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
When?
But I was hiding
Okay,
in
so
the
we didn't
crowd,
meet.
so we really don't match.
Well, there's a first time for everything, so pleasure to meet you. It's
Okay.
nice to connect a face to a profile.
Thank you.
I love what you do.
Thank
I
you.
love what you do because, like, for me, it gives a throwback moment to everything that's happening. You see that everything is being kind of like done again in a different way,
Yeah.
and that's all thanks to profiles like yours. So how did you start all of this?
Allora, first of all, I must say that this is the first time that I'm speaking in front of a public. So I'm thinking of all of you naked. Okay? Just know it. Just to relax myself, because I'm all dressed up. And this has started like, a tumble diary that was called My Small World. And there was really something about what suggests something to my imaginary and to everything. It was about, photograph, art, of course, a lot of fashion. And starting this Tumblr, I started seeing some connection between all the pictures that I was posting. And so I start doing like side-by-side stuff about everything that was there. Just to clarify, I work in fashion since a long time. So right now I'm over 50. Okay.
Don't look a day over it, so.
Okay. And
for
I've
peop-
started when I was 20, so it's really a
There
lot.
you go. Wow. That's amazing, though.
Yeah. So it's
For people that don't know what Tumblr is, that is Instagram before Instagram.
yeah, it's
Just so you
Instagram
know.
before Instagram, and it was really quite popular.
It was huge. It was huge. It was great
was
for
it,
fashion. It was
but
great for other things.
It lost a little bit when they took away all the
Correct.
porno side
Correct.
of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I cannot say it here, but a lot of people were on Tumblr for a different reason. But Tumblr was great because like you had everything that you wanted: fashion, architecture, art. It really was Instagram before Instagram. But then when Instagram came around, everybody's like, okay, time to dip, and then everybody
Yeah.
went to Instagram. But Tumblr was very good.
Yeah, and that was the time when the profile went to Instagram and
Okay.
started really being only a side-by-side posting about all the reference from the past collections and all the inspirations behind the collection. Because, I mean, I don't know if you have had the occasion, but for sure you do it for all the designers that you have here in the school. When you start thinking about a collection, you start from the mood board. And that's also from the name that came from my Instagram, Inside the Mood. So really getting into the mood board that inspire a designer in creating a collection. So when you construct a mood board, you put everything that really relates to your spirit, to your soul, to your imagination. And so that's really like the sacro graal of a designer, the mood board. Because when you get to see the mood board that is at the base of the collection, you really see what is inspiring the designer. And you can see that over there you can find art, you can find nature sometimes, you can find really everything, because inspiration can really come from everywhere.
True. I think like when it comes to like the mood board, I think mood board, literally just what you said, it tells you everything that you need to know. What evoked the collection, what started people, what started someone to think about the collection and was in a specific way. Have you ever like seen something that surprised you on a mood board that you're like, what the hell is this?
I've seen some mood boards. I've seen the mood board for my friend Barkay Koll. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I think you must know him by now. He's getting noticed. He was in the LVMH prize last year. And I mean, you really look at the mood board of the collection and you really can see everything.
He's a Turkish designer, right?
Yeah, he's a Turkish designer that immigrated to France.
Yeah.
And it's really bringing his heritage to the collection. And
I met him at LVMH, and then he had these like references. I love when people have references to like 15th century. I'm like, in fashion you don't see that very often. But they're like, oh my God. He was talking to me. He's like, and this is from a Turkish empire, from the 15th century. And I'm like, my God, that's so cool.
The inspiration of this collection was really about, popular Turkish dresses.
Yeah.
And a lot came, for example, from his trips to Pantelleria, because he always go to Pantelleria. So also the nature and the spirit of the Iceland, it's infusing into his creations.
No, definitely. I think like inspiration comes from everything. Speaking of inspiration, one of the questions that I have to ask you is, who is your fashion journalism hero?
You have a lot from abroad, really very famous, like Katie Horn, right? Robin Giving. I mean, they are Pulitzer winner. They are really super strong. But in this case, as I'm Italian, I want to stay a little more connected to our country and to Italy. So I must say that I really love Angelo Flaccavento, because I love how it's like to be disappointed at every fashion show. No, it's really speaking very honest. Yeah. So it's really giving a very authentic point of view when he does the review of the collection. And another journalist that I love, also being a friend, it's Giuliana Matarrese, lover. Because, she's very little, she's a freelancer, but she's doing really a good job, especially for the young designers and for the Made in Italy, for all the Italian fashion. She really is pushing a lot in giving voice to new and young designers. So that's what I really like, because, I mean, okay, you are a journalist, you can speak about the big brands, about what they do, but you also have to give voice to the next generation of designers that is coming to the scene. So something very important.
Just when you talk about youth, it's funny because a lot of these a lot of these critics, they're going to state their opinion on young designers, but they're not going to state their opinion about big designers, which is kind of, in my opinion, that's a little not okay. For example, I'll give it an example so people don't think that I'm just like making stuff up. Kathy Horn had a review about Kate, which is an American brand. She showed in New York, and she was talking about how the models are very skinny, about the lack of body diversity. Meanwhile, the rest of fashion industry is having even like skinnier models. So I wish that she said something like that during Saint Laurent shows, because Saint Laurent models are extremely thin. So I find it interesting that they're going to kind of like speak their mind on smaller designers that are not affecting their budget, are not having advertising money, but are going to be quiet on the big ones. I find that to be a little bit, let's just say, not cool. That was very political. But other than that, I think that I like Kathy Horn. I like Robin Gavon is, in my opinion, one of the best writers. I love Italian writers also, but the thing is that I don't speak Italian, so whenever they write a caption, Google tries to translate it, and it never works in my favor. So I still don't know what they said.
Okay. Next step, learn Italian.
Just for the writers. But I think Robin Gavon is brilliant. If you did not read her book, she won a Pulitzer Prize Award for The Battle of Versailles, which is a great fashion book. Okay, let's see some hands up. Who knows what is Battle of Versailles? If you know what it is, raise your hands up. Higher, higher. Okay, what? Go home, get the Battle of Versailles. It's a brilliant book. For people that don't know what Battle of Versailles is, that is, let's say, introduction of American fashion to world fashion. It happened in, sorry, go for it. It happened in 1973, and it was a battle between American designers and French designers. And basically, American designers ate French designers up. I never thought that would ever happen also. Plot twist. But it's a great book, and it breaks down how the whole process went, why they won, the energy in the room. You do not have a lot of pictures from that event, but it's a brilliant, brilliant book to read. It gives you the introduction to every designer from Oscar de la Renta to Halston. It gives you the breakdown of Saint Laurent. It really, really is a great book. So Robin Gavon kind of like wins my heart all the time.
I just stated the Battle of Versailles as my favorite
book?
book, and also happenings in fashion, because it's really something really very strong. And if you don't want to read, you can also have a look at the Battle of Versailles in the Alston series, if you are too lazy to read.
Yeah, like fashion is kind of like becoming like more mainstream with these TV shows. I mean, there was the Balenciaga one. There was the new look by Dior that just came out. So I have to see both of those. I saw the first episode of Balenciaga. It's brilliant. But
not spoiler. I still have to see it.
The way that they did it is very good because they recreated the pieces like completely to a T. And then you see these pieces from like 1968, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's brilliant. Honestly, I haven't seen a better kind of like dress, how do you call it, costume design in a very long time. So like they went through the archives, recreated everything. It's so good. It's so good. The thing that I'm interested to see in New Look, they're talking about the history of Coco Chanel. So if you know Coco Chanel's history, you get the tea.
Yeah, she's the villain in the boat.
She's the villain in my life, and I never met her. So, but yeah. So another question is, what period of fashion would you like to see return, or which period of fashion would you like to live?
To live, I have lived a lot. I was there in the 90s, I was there in the year 2K, so I don't like the return of the year 2K, to be honest. Not at all. But, I mean, they are all good to return. I mean, in fashion, since from the beginning to up to yesterday, you have good pieces, you have good creations, you have marvelous things to look at. You have heart in fashion, in all the periods. And recreating all these periods, it's something that a designer must do, giving modernity to those periods, not just taking and put again the same things, but adapting what you have in the past to what we are living today. Because really, I mean, it's like the basis of where we have arrived right now. So we can't forget all these bases. But you don't have to make it customary. You don't have to make it modern fashion. So when every period return, it's really a nice thing to say, but readapted to the period. And if I have to leave one, I really don't know. I don't think. Maybe Versailles and Marie Antoinette, something very easy for the day and the.
Do you think that fashion is like, now when we're talking about fashion and kind of trends, do you think is becoming commercial? Fashion in general, do you think like there's a
Yes.
more commercial brands now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fashion is becoming definitely commercial because a lot have changed in fashion since the beginning. I must say that, I mean, even when you buy a collection has changed a lot. From when I started my work in fashion to today's. Because the first time that I met the buyers, because I'm in sales, in distribution, commercial, nothing creative, nothing like that. That could sound strange, but it is. The first time that I met the buyers, it was really creating, I mean, transponding to the shops the idea of the collection, so really bringing all the idea of the collection, giving the image of the collection, giving everything. Nowadays, it's really more the buyers come to buy what they sell. So if you let buyers free to buy what they want, they will buy only fleece and sneakers at Balenciaga, they will buy only biker jacket at Saint Laurent, or bags. So it's really something they are really more looking at what they are selling. And also before the buyers, they come, they really get in the spirit in the collection. They really want to hear about the inspiration, everything that was behind the collection, and really transport the idea, as I've already told. Right now, they are really more into looking to Excel files to see all the percentage, all it's going, what is selling, and everything. So it has lost a little bit of magic, even if, I mean, every time that I see a collection, I'm still dreaming. I cannot forget the dream of fashion. So for sure it's commercial, more commercial, and it does more marketing behind the collection. That's sometimes design. And when a design creates a collection, then you have the intervention of the merchandising, of all the commercial part of the people that put their hands, unfortunately, too, in the collection. So sometimes this is sad.
What collection made you dream lately? Because lately we've been, I mean, we had a couture week and stuff like that. Like,
I think we can agree.
Marcella?
Of course. I think we can all agree.
I think all of us. That was he ate. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry, he ate. There's no other way to describe it. That was.
Yeah, but that's what you
ridiculous.
get when you have 1 year to develop the collection. He really had, from Renzo Rosso, 1 year to develop the collection. And this is something unimaginable right now, because right now, the designers from the brands, they have to do 5, 6 collections a year, so they really don't have the time to create such magic as Galliano has done for Margiela in the last couture collection. So Also, the fact that we are running more, we are also in the informations than we
God, of course.
because we're always running to get the last.
Yeah, the last news, the last scope. We're always on the hunt. But I think like Margiela collection was good just because it was, I don't know, it hit everything that Margiela is all about. I kind of made you like his Dior years were amazing. I think that all of us will agree on that, especially like his couture is like one of a kind. But you still see the brilliance of that man. And now there's another documentary about him coming, and it's talking about the scandal. It's talking about how he got canceled. It breaks down everything. I'm excited to see what he has to say. Is he going to be forgiven for it or not? I think that's on the public to decide. But I think that it's necessary because like he came from like one side of fashion to another. He came from back, in Dior years, he would produce 32 collections a year. 32 collections a year. And him and McQueen were two designers that were, if you read Gods and Kings by Dana Thomas, okay, do I need to do hands now? No. Let's not. Yeah, let's not. If you love Galliano, if you love Dior, if you love Galliano, if you love McQueen, Dana Thomas has a book called Gods and Kings. Brilliant book. Big book. It took me forever to read it. But it's a very interesting book because it breaks down the artistic side and it breaks down the business side. And it breaks down what made Galliano do what he did, turn to alcohol and drug abuse. And then it talks about McQueen and what made him commit suicide at the end of the day. But it talks about like how much they worked and how much they were overworked. And now to see him design one collection in a year, I'm like, that's great. And you can see how much like he's done and how much love for fashion there is in that man. I think one of the best designers that we currently have. Who's your favorite designer?
McQueen.
I love you.
Of course.
I love you. Yeah, same here. Same here. But what do you like about McQueen? I mean, like...
The fact that I like about McQueen that you always have this crazy fashion show, these crazy presentations. But then if you look at the pieces, they are really very simple. They are not so crazy as you imagine. I mean, he's giving us a lot of narrative about his collection. He's making us dream about this collection and putting on the runway all the inspiration that was behind the creation of the collection. But if you look at the pieces, they are really very simple because they all come from menswear collection because he was trained in men's at the beginning. So it's really about the use of the fabric that you always use English mills, very ancient and English mill. It's always about like a simple bias cut. So it's something really very, very simple, the bias cut. It's just like cutting transversal the fabric to give the stretchiness to a non-stretch fabric. But doing this, you make a simple skirt floating like a dream. So that's what I like about him. And then, of course, you have all the runway presentation that was brilliant.
No, that's very true. For me, that made me start loving fashion. My first fashion show that I ever saw was McQueen on TV, not in person. I was one of those. I don't know if you know the story, but when Plato's Atlantis in 2010 happened, Lady Gaga was showing her new song, and that was Bad Romance. And then she said that at the end of the show, it's going to play. So all the Lady Gaga fans, myself being one, we crashed the whole live stream. And then
it was the first show that was live streamed,
right, and the first one that crashed.
Went
So you're welcome. But it's I don't know, it's something about like him as a designer is just like on another level. It's just like brilliance at its finest. But speaking of that, when you post content, do you ever post designers that you're not huge fans of?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Yeah. I'm fair. I post
Exactly.
all of them. If I see, the side by side, that is something that, even if I don't like the design, but resonate to my spirit, to my imagination, I post without any.
If the story is good, why not?
If the story is good, yeah. If
Definitely.
there's a story, it's not a problem of this designing.
Sure. No, that's true though. I agree. But I think like when it comes to like a lot of these collections and everything, there's a plethora of information just like coming. Like you just have to kind of filter what people will find interesting. And you're only on Instagram, from what I remember. That you're also on TikTok, but it's not.
I'm on TikTok, but it's not so huge. It's, I mean, I'm not also huge in Instagram.
No, you come on. I love to see your posts. I think
I think they're gonna define me like a small influencer.
No,
I'm
no.
Something like that. And I don't influence anybody at all, to be honest.
No, I think like your account is like an insider's account.
Yeah.
Like when people that like really love fashion, they're gonna go to your account and be like, okay, that's a good reference. Like for example, I go to your account to be like, okay, is there anything new about this collection? Because it's always interesting story to see who did it before. So I always find that interesting. But your account is mainly on Instagram.
Yeah, mainly on Instagram.
Okay.
Because being based on side-by-side photos and the fact that I never appear on the screen. So, I mean, on TikTok you have to be there, you have to show your face, you have to be more...
Yeah, more present, like
more
camera-wise.
present, yeah.
Fair. As far as information...
Sorry to interrupt. I have all my friends saying you have to do something more gossip, something more...
It
I
works,
mean, something more
unfortunately.
trashy, and they say, no, it's not my story, I cannot.
No, I think like the way that you put it could be interesting. You know, I think that like even if it's a gossip, I mean, like I talk about everything in fashion. I talk, you know, I'm like, did Daniel Lee get fired from Burberry? I don't know. Is there a rumor? Yes. But I think that like everybody finds it interesting because it gives you another reason to talk about fashion. And whenever I can talk about fashion, I'm down for it. So I would, if you were going to show your face, I would be like, oh my God, that's great, because I think like people resonate more with, with face and like when they know you. But I think the beauty of your account is that you're kind of like hidden. I think that's kind of cool. I think kind of like when you're doing your own thing, it's a bit easier, I think, still. Because like, yeah, you get what I mean. You get what I mean. As far as everything else goes, where do you get your news and facts that you're going to report?
Usually I get from, Vogue Runaway, just looking. And to be honest, I have a very good visual memories. I'm really bad in dates, names. I mean, if you present to me and say to me your name, I will forget in 2 seconds.
She called me Mark.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. She didn't.
But I will always remember your face. Don't worry. So sometimes I don't even read the reviews on Vogue Runaway. I don't even read the press release. I just see the image and immediately comes something to my mind. Sometimes I can find it immediately. Sometimes it's harder because I don't remember names and then that's it. But I have a good friend of mine that I call my Google man. And I say, okay, I remember that there's something like that. You have to find me. God, go find me.
And it comes free.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, I think like the reviews on Vogue are interesting. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of them. You know that the collection is bad when they're talking about the location too much. Come on. When they're
Or
like,
about the models that close at the show.
Exactly. When they're like, everything except the clothes. And I'm like, come on, we see you. But I think like information is where you get, I mean, like I go to Business of Fashion and WWD always has like credible information. You know, all of these like kind of like newsletters. I love, okay, how many of you are on Twitter? Exactly. Twitter is so good for information and misinformation also. So you have to be super careful. But like for fashion stuff, Twitter is brilliant because everybody gets on Twitter and immediately posts stuff as it comes out. So it's like super interesting because like that's where you can get your news. And people share their opinion. And I love that. So I'm like, I'd rather like see someone with an opinion than...
I'm not on Twitter.
No. I'll make you an account. It's going to be called Outside the Mood. But with all that being said, should we go to Q&A? Yeah, let's do a Q&A. I did your introduction for you.
Great job, the Q&A. So maybe also you can get some
water in the meanwhile, which you haven't had until now. Okay, so we want to have some questions for our guests, of course, and me being very greedy, I will start with the first question. So how is it managing audience? I mean, we are an audience here today, but you have both an audience. And I can imagine that they like, dislike what you're doing or what you're posting sometimes, but also they might give you information or ask you too many things of you. So how is it managing that? I mean, you always like quite good because you're telling people, this week I'm off, I will save my messages, let me have my time, on a fashion week or something like that. But how is there something that you want to tell us about how you manage your audience?
Well, I answer all the DMs, and I understand that that's not what influencers usually do, but I find that to be a nice way of connecting to people that follow you. I hate to say it, but it's true. I would not be here right now without people in this room. So I think the minimum that I can do is answer a message or answer a question. So when when Fashion Week happens, my DMs are already clogged up. So I'm not touching those until I come back home to Florida. Yes, I am from Florida. I know it sucks, but then when Fashion Week ends, I wait. I literally am on DMs for the next 2 days, just as answering messages. But you know what? It gives you a completely different view of what you do and what people like to hear and people's opinion, because people are going to send messages that are the funniest and the craziest. And I love the craziest ones because I'm like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Somebody literally asked me the other day, they're like, hey, can you send my girlfriend a message? And I'm like, I'm sorry? And they're like, yeah, tell her that I made a mistake. I'm like, I'm not in this conversation. I should not be. I'm like, this is not Dr. Phil. Go. But I think it's that connection that you have with people is just like, it's nice and it's refreshing. And I think fashion has too many stuck-up people to be like, oh, I'm not going to answer your message. No, answer those messages.
Yeah,
Sorry.
me too. I answer to all the direct message that I receive. Don't be shy. You can write. There's no problem. Even if you don't see my face on Instagram, there's a person sending you an answer. And I must say that I do not think about the people that follow my account to followers, but I always refer to them as readers, because I prefer this kind of word than the followers. What means followers?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I really love because through my Instagram account, I have also found new friends, new connection, people that right now are friends also in real life, and with which I met every time I go to Paris or I come here to Milan. I speak daily with people in Australia, in Chile, all around the world. So if you trust a little bit Instagram and if you trust your direct message, you will find the world outside, really. And you will really connect to people that are really near you. Because the people that I found through Instagram and to my direct message are really people that have my same passions, my same ideas. Never was mean to me, never met anybody mean. So
Those are my favorite messages, because when someone wants to start something, they tag me and they don't know that I answer messages, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Oh, you saw this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? Like, let's talk about it." But I think it's just like, just answer. If you're trying to build a community, I think that there's a difference between building a community and building a following. I think the community is a lot stronger. And all of us are in the same room that have the same passion for fashion. I love that passion for, it sounds good. But all of us are, here for the same reason. So I think if you're building a following, that's different. I think for me, that's kind of cold. It just doesn't translate very well. It just sounds, stuck-up-ish. But I think we're on the same page when it comes to that. Yeah.
Okay, I still don't see any hands raising, so I will continue. So we were talking
Man,
about
this
it.
is not just one-on-one.
Don't be
I
shy.
think,
Yeah, you can ask whatever you
so
want.
you got one other question to come up with your question, or take the courage. So we're talking about this hyper-essentialism this week because, as you were saying, like everything is becoming like extremely commercial, as we were saying, or like boiled down to great quality, because there are some brands who have like I will not name names, Gucci, but it's like you're going like from a completely different way of communicating and doing clothes to another one, but people love that the quality has increased, for example. So that is for sure great, but where's the dream, right? Because as Francesca was saying before there was a dream, and it was maybe complex and complicated, but even the buyers were taking then in the showroom time to explain the collections in order to transfer the dream in addition to whatever would come out in editorials or the show and so on. So we are going in this direction. We are, of course, sad about it, I think, but is it something that will continue? You think like it's like a longer thing to stay, and maybe the precursor of that was actually the casual, the sportswear, thing that continued for a long time. So where are we going this direction? Will this like really remain with us? Or has the Galliano Artisanal Margiela show woken up, the dream and all the designers, and could there be a return to something else? Please.
I think the word commercialism has a bad connotation, and it shouldn't be. I always say to younger designers, I'm like, it's great to have a dream, it's great to be creative, but at the end of the day, that might not necessarily sell. And this is a harsh reality, because when it's commercial, it means that it's going to sell. And I know that you guys don't want to hear that. I completely understand that you're in this because you love fashion, you want to give your vision. That's 100% credible. And you can still do that. You just have to find that balance and the right medium. Some of the brands like, okay, I'm going to name names because I cannot beat around the bush. Like Jacquemus, for example. Jacquemus, the quality of Jacquemus is not something that I would buy, me personally. Does Jacquemus have a great marketing strategy? Brilliant. And I think all of us will agree on this one. The way that he translates his clothes, which are nothing wow and couture-ish like, and the cut is not crazy, it's not super creative, but it sells. That's a smart branding. You have brands like, you have Quiet Luxury right now, which is super big, and Zegna and Laura Piana, brands that I really love because they are doing something that's a lot different from everybody else. In a way, it is commercial, but it has a target market and it hits that target market. So dreaming in fashion and putting your vision into fashion is not a bad thing. Do it. But at the end of the day, you have to remember what's going to bring you money, what's going to bring bread to your table is something that's going to sell. At the end of the day, that's the best advice that I can give you. Be commercial if you have to. You have great designers like Daniel Roseberry that, in my opinion, if I was a student today, he would make me love fashion. He's one of the rare designers that would make me love fashion. But you also have designers like, who I find him very smart, is Michael Kors. Michael Kors, very commercial, sells like crazy. His clientele is a lot different than Gucci clientele. I'll give you an example. I live in a building. In the building, there's a front desk. And there's this lady at the front desk. I love her. Her name is Karine. So I was holding a Fendi Peekaboo bag. I love a Fendi Peekaboo bag. For me, that is a grandma bag, and inside my heart, I am a small grandma. So I have the Fendi Peekaboo bag, and she calls me, and she's like, hey, Hanan, you have a package from Michael Kors. I'm like, not a problem, perfect. So she calls me over, she's like, hey, when you open it, can you just show me what you got? And I'm like, sure. She's like, Michael Kors for me is the designer ever. Because Michael Kors, and I hate to sound like that, is a luxury that she can afford still. She cannot afford Fendi, which is fine. She can afford Michael Kors. And when she sees this Michael Kors bag, for her, that is everything that we see with Miu Miu or Prada or Gucci. That is her Gucci. It's just a perspective that she has about fashion that is not like ours, and it's fine. But for her, Michael Kors is that girl. And I love that for her. So I showed her the Michael Kors, everything went well. But when you think of like smart designers that are making money and are making change, Michael Kors is actually making huge changes with United Nations, for example. Like he's donating a lot of money as far as like the meals for poor people goes. Doing great stuff. Brunello Cucinelli is another person that does great stuff. So you have these designers that made it in fashion by being commercial, and there is nothing wrong with that. There we go. And after 7 hours of me speaking, I'm giving you
Going back to your front desk lady, she really represents what we can call the aspirational customer. So the one that want to have a piece of the dream. And when we speak about commercial collection, it's not only about what you do, but how you balance the price point of the collection. I mean, at the moment, you have seen in fashion prices rise crazy. They are really super, super high. And all the big fashion brands, they are losing the front desk door. They don't have anymore the aspirational clients that want a little piece of dreams that can get to a pair of shoes or a bags, because also those two accessories are rising too much in price point. So when you construct a collection, you have to also keep in mind that you have to, the commercial must be at a good price point for this aspirational client. And you can also include this in a dreamy collection, because you can give the dream to the one that can afford the dream, and you can give what the aspirational clients wants. Right now, the aspirational clients, only what he has to buy are perfumes and beauty. That's how he can get close to a fashion brand.
I mean, when you talk about pricing, I mean, look at Burberry. Girl. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Alina. Firstly, I would like to thank you for having the talk, making the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Both of you use primarily Instagram and Tumblr and also Twitter, or X as we call it now. How do you see the community changing through different platforms? And is there something that you find that is particular from Instagram that you enjoy doing, interacting with the followers or the readers, that you don't find, or what you actually miss in Instagram?
For me, Instagram and TikTok are completely two different platforms. And what's going to work on Instagram doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on TikTok. TikTok is more interactive. But sometimes, me personally, I don't like too much interactive. Sometimes I want to sit and read something. Like there's this fashion account that just like yells when he talks. And I'm like, it's too much. But I wish that account could be transferred into Instagram, because I just swipe up when I hear yelling. I'm like, just chill. But I think like for me, Instagram is better because it gives a clear interaction. On TikTok, I barely read messages, because for me, it's not a communication platform. It's more of I'm telling you type of a thing. If you want to comment, great. If you don't, that's fine. Instagram is more face-to-face and personal. And I think when it comes to Instagram, Instagram is more representative of who you are. You don't have to post anything on TikTok. You can still have an account. Instagram is like, you're on Instagram, you're going to share your life, what you like, your dog, everything that like you kind of care about. So I think like communication through those two platforms is a lot different for me. Personally, I prefer Instagram, but yeah.
Every platform has its own voice, and they are really quite different. I mean, on Twitter and now on Threads, you go to read mainly mean comments, because that's what you want to hear over there. On Instagram, we started with the images, and now we have a full life over there. And on TikTok, I mean, for me, it's not my generation, to be honest. I'm too old for that. I'm too old. That's too many young people, and they're really too fast. In my account, I prefer to take more time. You have to take the time sometimes to read. You can go deeper in getting the informations. The posts that I do, the ones that I prefer, are the ones that get back and give you some historic informations about everything. They are not always the most successful ones, but that's the ones that I love. And what I liked in Instagram is on your account, you really you build your own house. And then you say, okay, that's my house. Are you interested in coming and we have a party together? Yeah. Let's come in.
I think TikTok is a lot, when it comes to big difference for me, TikTok is better to show you some stuff that you never thought of. Their algorithm works very well. I have to give them that. Because the only way that you're going to find it on Instagram, new stuff, is because somebody shared it. TikTok just kind of like gives you, hey, are you interested in this type of a thing? And then you say no, yes or no, you scroll or not. So I think that when it comes to new stuff and discovering stuff, I think that TikTok is a bit better, even though my TikTok...
It's like TikTok gets me.
It's scary. Honest to God, it's scary. I saw one review of the movie Madame Web, and it wasn't a pleasant review. And now all the things that I'm seeing are bad reviews of Madame Web. But it's very interactive. So
yeah, you have to be very quick to if you don't like anything, to go away, because if not, it will really hound
correct.
you.
Well, they say the first 3 seconds, and if you're into social media and if you want to grow your platform, first 3 seconds are most important. Because in the first 3 seconds, you decide if you're going to swipe up or not. So for me, the first 3 seconds, I'm always like, Kim Jones slapped Maria Grazia, and just to get people to talk and to stay. That never happened, just for the record. But it just makes people watch, and then you have to just decide if you're going to stay or not. But first 3 seconds are always the key. So I think the influencers call it the hook seconds. So yeah. For any other social media advice, I do charge. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, hello. Yes, sure. Well, hello, my name is Carlos. I'm not a student, I'm a professor. But, however...
Who's your favorite student? No, I'm kidding.
My favorite student is not in here.
There we go,
it's
2 girls in a back.
Over there. They're going to get a great mark at the end of it. No, well, my question is for both, of course, but probably because of the thing is more oriented to Francesca. So since I don't belong to this generation, so mine is more tumble, and there's sort of what I used to say like a ping pong game, so finding the references. And when I start following you, I was thinking your account is the accessible door for this idea of nothing is coming from the vacuum. But I don't know how, from the perspective of brands, this is being considered. So I think for them, it's very educational, so they can be educated or they can be informed about the cultural aspects, that this is not that easy to do today since everything became information. But what is the behavior of the brands when they see that whatever is being done by Alexander McQueen or Tom Ford 15 years ago?
I always like to go to a phrase say by Jim Jarmusch. Mm-hmm. It's something that really goes to my soul. And it speaks about taking inspiration from everywhere, mm-hmm. and also stealing. But if you take your steal, you put into your spirit, and you make it something better, you can also say, I have stole those, but I'm making something new.
Yes. So it's interpretation.
Yeah. So it's interpretation. Sometimes I have some designers, they are not so...
Copy-paste.
No. Because can I say the names?
Yes.
Okay, I have Alessandro Dell'Acqua.
Yes.
That sent to me a direct message because I posted a Rorschach print with all the birds
Well, he was the
connected
designer.
with the Alexander McQueen birds print. And he was sending a direct message to me saying, no, this is an old Rorschach print. I'm not taking inspiration from Alexander McQueen. Okay, I will post also the print from Rorschach, don't worry. But if you put these two images together, they are really quite similar. So it's just, I mean, for me, it's just a visionary things more than really the inspirational starting point. But usually they are pretty quite fine, quite nice. For example, Olivier Roustrain for Balmain, it's super fun and he always like, and he's always telling, I'm waiting to see if you discover where I took, what
Also
it
because
is,
I think it's not paid advertising, isn't it? In a way.
No.
No?
No, no.
Well, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like banned from a couple of them. I know that I'm sure that I'm banned from Burberry.
Dior.
Dior, Chanel, Siriano, Wang. Yeah, in alphabetical order.
Yeah, but you have choose the easy ones. I mean,
I mean, like for me, I'm like everything that I say. I try. I'm not a mean person. If you like what I say, good. If you don't like what I say, that's fine. I think the problem with the designers today is that I'm gonna sound awful. I don't care. That's the thing. I have my opinion about your collection, and that's fine. It's difficult to change an opinion. But if you come at me in a very nasty way, you're not doing anything to improve that. And that's fine. You don't have to prove yourself to me. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. I think it's just like a bittersweet feeling that you have when the bad situation turns worse. Like, for example, like, I'll give an example of Christian Siriano. Siriano blocked me because I said that his fabrics look cheap. And you all agree with me. I'm sorry. Those fabrics really do look cheap, and they still look cheap. Does that mean that he's a bad designer? Not necessarily. There's a couple of Siriano collections that I actually like, but that doesn't like devalue him as a designer. But then like he blocked me, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're not geeking anytime soon, which is fine.
But isn't it like for someone who is a fashion commentator, and I see like both of you as such, isn't it a badge of honor actually? Is it what? A badge of honor. Because, you know, being blocked by somebody, because it's like, yeah, okay, I mean, you take it that way, but actually I'm doing like something that is has integrity.
I find it funny, to be honest. I mean, look, it reminds me of like, you know, Saint Laurent and him banning, you know, some writers from shows. And I'm like, it just shows the prima donna.
Edith Slimane, for example,
Correct.
Katie Heron, I mean, she was
Correct.
never invited anymore after the first...
But it's, you know, that's the modern version of that. You know, like Burberry and Daniel Lee, you know, I have my opinion about Daniel Lee and Burberry. I think it's a fail, and I'm still gonna say it. I said it 2 days ago. And, you know, when the new collection comes out, I'm going to share my opinion because I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with an opinion. It's just how you take it. Do I wish the best for Daniel Lee? My God, yes. But do I see such an improvement in Burberry right now? My God, no. So, do I think that there's better designers for Burberry? My God, yes. Get Claire White Keller in there to clean it up. We need a woman.
What is going to happen with Givenchy exactly? Do we
they
know?
don't- they don't
Because
know
I don't know
also.
if you have seen. But have you
I'm
seen
waiting.
that? Because you say Claire, but Claire is posting all the
I
Givenchy
know.
stuff since months.
I know.
So I don't know. Is it like
There-
and she's sending her CV again,
I'm in-
or
I'm
no,
in my-
she
something
was
happening?
promoting the Uniqlo collection.
It's true. She's doing her unique local. But you know what? It's like I need to be in my detective era to figure that out because her couture was on point. Her couture was great. But she's posting all of these couture. She goes, you know, like caption says like, Givenchy is all about, you know, the lines and elegance and everything. And I'm like, why are you saying this now? It just doesn't make sense. But I'm happy that she does. But you know, I also don't understand when people go like, oh my God, they need to get Riccardo Tisci back in Givenchy. I'm like, that's not happening. That's not. I love his work. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, why would you hire somebody that you fired? You're kind of like admitting your own guilt there. The only person that went back to the brand is Karl Lagerfeld and Chloe, from what I remember. And he was in Chloe twice. He was there from 1992 to 1997, and from 1984 to, my God, 1988, I think, or something like that. There were two Karl eras in Chloe. But that was the only designer that like I know that went back to his previous spot. You know, fashion is not going to be like, oh my God, let's get him back. And people are like, get Galliano back in Dior. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. So I think Givenchy is just like, is there people that I want to see in Givenchy? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because which are the other vacant chairs? I think it's
Lanvin.
Lanvin and that one.
Lanvin, Givenchy, and I think that's about it. Yeah, I think all of them. Moschino has a new creative director. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that was to be my last question for me, and then we get one other from a student, and then we're fine. But with all the new creative directors, like right now between Milan and Paris, which one you are the most excited for?
Do you want?
From the new ones,
Yeah.
Sean McGear
Okay, fair. I have
Fair.
two of them. I have.
and
go for it.
Adriana Piolazza, for sure,
Yeah.
because he
Same.
has really a very strong personal style, and the message that she's sending, it's really getting back to the Franco Moschino roots. That was really a little bit forgotten by Jeremy Scott, because it was really very a lot in the costuming, a little bit more drag Moschino. But he was forgetting that Franco was really taking, I mean, the Chanel jacket, the classic, the very classic piece, and turning it out in a different way, in the Moschino way. He was always playing, Chanel was one of the first brands that he was playing with and giving to us in a complete different direction. But I see that, all the new creative directors, they are really getting back to the roots of the brands.
I think so. I think for me it's the same answer, because I want to see, he has an amazing resume, the guy from Moschino. Like he worked in Loewe, he worked at McQueen also. He worked with Marc Jacobs and Louis Vuitton. He worked with Phoebe Philo. He worked with so many people, and like his resume is hands down one of the best that I've seen. So, and plus he collects a lot of clothes. I think that he has one of the biggest archive, is it of Comme des Garçons or Margiela? But I think it's Comme. So he knows clothes, and he has pieces from Moschino himself. So that and Sean for McQueen are the two shows that I'm super psyched to see. So if I don't go to those shows, I'm gonna throw a fit. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, first of all, thank you for coming here today. I'm Baisem from Mongolia, and I want to hear more about about the time where you guys first stepped into the fashion world. Like, how did you find your voice? And as a creators, how did you know that what you're doing is going to work and you're going to keep doing it? What was the defining moment like?
I didn't know. And I still don't know. I really don't think too much about what I post. I'm really getting into what I see, into the moment. I'm really bad. I don't have any planned postings. I heard, some influencer, they have planned poster already going out. I don't have anything planned. I really live the moment, the inspiration that I get when I see a collection, when I see something around. And so I don't know if it's gonna work. I post it because I love it. I go on my sensations. I really follow what I like and what I love. And I just hope that the community that I have created and that follows me, that are on the same ideas and on the same stuff, they really love what I'm posting. But it's not really, I mean, for me, a matter of numbers, of how much likes I get, because when I post something that for me is very important, is giving a strong message, even if I get 50 likes, it's okay. It's okay. 50 person has seen it, has reached it. I've reached 50 persons, and they know something more about what they also like. So it's just, I live day by day. So I'm really...
No, I do have planned posting though. Like for example, tonight I have a meme about Mucha because tomorrow is the show. But those are the reason why I have that is because I find a meme and I find a picture and I'm like, this could work for that situation. So in my calendar it says post the Prada meme. But for me, I don't know, I just like started posting what I like. And I started talking the way that I actually talk. And then, you know, it's going to resonate with some people are going to hate you, some people are going to love you, and it's normal. But I think if you have a voice that is very authentic to you, people are going to recognize it. You know, if I was saying that every show out there is the best show ever and nothing like that will be repeated again, no one would believe me. You know, if you saw me like see Nina Ricci's show and just be like, that is the best collection I've ever seen, you know I'm lying. But I think like just like authenticity of it is kind of like the key, I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Hi, how are you both? My name is João Pedro. I already met you briefly last year. I don't know if you remember me, but it's my first time meeting you. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to ask you a question about, we addressed all the elephants in the room, right? Galliano, Balenciaga, Coco Chanel. Since fashion is about expression and all kinds of feelings, how do you guys feel about, as commentators and as insiders, I guess, in the fashion industry, how do you both feel, how do you view the redemption and forgiveness when it comes to when a designer does something damaging to a brand, let's say Coco Chanel or the Galliano, since the Margiela show was so amazing, yes, but how does this forgiveness have a role in a brand, and how do you think we all have a say in what's happening and as in this forgiveness way?
That's a good question, actually. Depends. For me, depends. Like, for example, like Coco Chanel, I'm not a huge fan because I don't think that she was a nice person. And for me, no collection will ever change that. By the same token, she's not alive anymore. People that work in Chanel right now cannot be associated with her and what she did and how she did it. So that would be unfair of me to judge the collections based on Chanel's life. Same thing with Balenciaga, in my opinion. I think Balenciaga made a mistake. It was a stupid mistake. It was a very stupid mistake. And I told him that in person. I think when you want to be provocative, you have to understand the backlash. And the best way to go about the controversy is what you do after. Like Balenciaga scandal would not be as bad, in my opinion, if they didn't shift blame to other people. When the whole thing happened, everybody understood that it was crazy. I mean, all of us talked about it. It was the biggest scandal that we've seen since Dolce & Gabbana, to be honest. It was literally, and honestly, I love those moments. Not because they're in trouble, but it is because finally everybody has an opinion. And I love that. But that controversy made you think about Balenciaga in a completely different light. The first thing that they did, they said, we're not responsible for this campaign. It was a smaller agency. I'm like, number one, that's a ridiculous way to start. You don't shift blame. In my opinion, what they should have done, they should have taken accountability from the get-go and then figured it out from then. After that, they did do a couple of good things. They did donate money for organizations that work with children. They tried to fix their image. Is their image fixed? It's not. It's not, because I can see it on my comments whenever I talk about Balenciaga. People are like, you know, they're calling them, you know, pedophiles and predators, everything. So I think that was a poor management of a crisis can be can make the crisis even worse. Dolce & Gabbana, in my opinion, is a different thing, because I think the Dolce & Gabbana, in my opinion, it's super simple solution. They should have just apologized. If you have a controversy, address it. Don't, we're not dumb. We read articles, we watch videos. We're not there just being like, oh my God, poor Dolce & Gabbana. No, it doesn't work like that. Address it and be sincere about it and change.
Actually, you have in America, you have a saying, it's like, it's never the crime, it's the cover-up.
Correct. I mean, you already did the crime. So, the only person that you're hurting is actually yourself. But then, you have like Galliano, for example. Galliano, who, due to drug abuse and alcoholism, said some ridiculous stuff. And should he be forgiven? I think that's on every person to decide. Am I forgetting about it? Hell no. That's a stain that he's always going to have on his resume, no matter how brilliant he is. Like if McQueen was alive today, McQueen would be canceled, I think, 3 times a day. Yeah. But is he a bad designer because he's controversial? No. You have great designers that are controversial. But I think that the climate has changed, and now we live in a climate where everybody wants to cancel everybody. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Does cancel culture exist? I'm sorry to disappoint you. No. Alexander Wang still makes clothes. And all of us know the Alexander Wang story. And all of us heard people that came out of that story. So as long as you bring money to fashion and you sell, you can do whatever you want, it seems. Is culture going to love you for it? No. But that's the bottom line. Unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in. We have sexual predators walking around. And that's what I tell all the young designers and people in the fashion industry. This is not a nice industry. If you think that this industry is peaches and milk, it's not. And I'm sorry to tell you like this. Is it a beautiful industry? 100% yes. I met the most amazing people because of fashion. Fashion has brought me my best friend. And I love that. But it's not an easy industry to survive in. So just be smart about it. Learn on people's mistakes. You have a plethora of people that made so many different mistakes. Don't repeat them. That's the best advice that I can give you. And after another 16 hours of me talking.
But I'm the living proof that you can survive fashion.
There you go. Exactly.
I'm inside fashion from 30 years, and I'm still alive and and doing good. And I still have my life fixed. Everything's fine. So you can survive. You can survive fashion. And it's really nice what you have talked about. Of Alexander McQueen. That when we think about all the fashion show from Alexander McQueen, from Galliano, even from, the big shows from Marc Jacobs, that really stays into my mind, like the ones that he has done for Louis Vuitton, super strong. And every time that I see something surfacing about cultural appropriation, about, being strong in the communication, every time I think the same thing. I think, those designers in those days will last 2 days. Yeah. And they will be killed by popular opinion because everybody will point the finger about the cultural appropriation, about everything. And to be honest, we were much younger. We were more naive by that period when we see those things. We were less aware of what was made by then. But maybe we were happier.
Yeah, I agree. I think the culture now is good. Just because I talk bad about fashion, that doesn't mean that culture right now and the fashion industry is bad. I love accountability. Don't get me wrong. If something is cultural appropriation, you should call it out. Somebody who is not from a culture, they should not be profiting off the culture that they are not part of. I like stuff like that. Does it make creating a lot more difficult? It does. And I get that. But I think Galliano, for example, his inspirations was always all over the place. Karl Lagerfeld was always, Karl Lagerfeld is a German guy. He's making in 2013, he's making a collection inspired by India. But it's a beautiful collection at the end of the day, but social media and accountability was not present at that time. I don't think that there's anything wrong with accountability. and I think that you shouldn't also. So call it out.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Carolina.
Call it out. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so thank you for your question because mine is somehow connected. I was like wondering if you have an opinion about the gossip. How is like scandal nowadays profitable for the brand? Because we have like Demna, who's like amazing designer with like great possibilities, and then we have like this mistake. We have like, for example, even from today, we went to Fendi show. There was this guy, obviously activist with the card of like animal abuse. But they took him out, make a little fuss, took pictures, brought him back in. And people started to talk. Oh, he was probably like even paid to do so. Like maybe that was the commercial part of the whole show because that makes, on one hand, people talk. So it kind of brings attention to the brand. But on the other hand, people who think and are more responsible, they like move out from the brand. And what do you think about this?
When it comes to Demna and Balenciaga, do I think that Demna is a great designer? Yes. I mean, a mistake is a mistake. All of you will make a mistake. Not to that extent, but you will make mistakes, and that's fine. I think making mistakes makes you grow and makes you learn. Demna, I think that no one can deny his impact. And I know the people in the room are not going to agree with me, but as someone who loves Balenciaga as the house and a history of Balenciaga, I love, one of my favorite designers is Cristobal. I think that his vision of Balenciaga is not something that is completely connected to Cristobal Balenciaga. If somebody asked me, if an alien came down to Earth and they asked me, like, what do you think about Demna? I would be like, he's there to piss you off. And he is. He's there to question, will you buy a bag that looks like a garbage bag? And no matter how stupid it sounds, people were buying them. And it's this like questioning of like of a consumer and how far you can push it, which I find super interesting. When it comes to creating controversy, that can backfire very easily. That can backfire very easily. I would never do that because there's more ways for it to go wrong than right. Like, do you remember the Peter girl like 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons? Yeah, Peter girl, she did all the best shows. I don't know who her manager is because she was in all those shows. But the Peter girl just like walked the show with a sign. She did Coach, she did Hermes, she did, my God, she did Gucci also. So do you bring an awareness to a cause? Yes, you do. But you kind of, again, I'm gonna sound awful. When you do it to fashion people find it as entertainment. You know, a lot of people, unfortunately, are not going to be triggered by it. But to do something like that to Fendi, as far as Fendi and fur goes, it's interesting because Fendi is one of the house, I mean, Fendi stands for fun fur. It's a fur house. But Fendi does not do real fur anymore. So Fendi is one of the rare brands that actually invests money to figure out how to recreate the fur to the fullest extent. So, and they're not using animal fur. So I think that that person was at the wrong show, to be honest. So tell them to hit Paris, and there's a couple of shows there that, tell them to keep the sign also.
Yeah, the Patagonia are really old-timing right now. Nobody is using fur anymore, so I really don't understand the protest on the catwalks at the moment. But they went to more show than me, for sure.
I mean, like, she went to Hermes, girl, work. But it's a difficult industry to make a moment like that. Because, you know, fashion people are shallow. I hate to say that, but fashion people are shallow, and they're going to be like, oh my God, that's entertaining. There's a woman walking with a sign. Let me get that on the phone. That's fine. Everybody's going to do that. It's just that I think the way that you go about it, it can be a lot more effective. Yeah.
Okay, I think our guests were extremely generous with their time and also with everything, with their knowledge about fashion and everything they shared today with us. The last thing that I would ask them, if there's any wishes or recommendations for our students for this fashion week, what do you recommend them to do, to look at, and so on before releasing you?
To look everything, basically. I mean, don't miss any show, don't miss from the big brands to the new designers, and see what is popping around, what is the vibe around, what is getting out. Because as I've always saying, and I've seen it say in the beginning, inspiration comes really from everywhere. So, and I mean, my advice to you, it's always be curious, always. Never stop being curious and looking at the world with your child eyes. Do not grow too much. even if life makes you grow faster, even in these days, even faster, don't grow too much. Don't forget your inner child. Don't forget the curiosity that you have getting where you are right now, because it's what will give you the wings for your future.
Hanan, don't say become a Peter girl.
No, get close to the PRs. No, I'm kidding. I agree. I think be curious, explore, read books. That's what I'm going to tell you. All the fashion knowledge that I have came from books and what I found on the internet. It is not impossible. I don't have a plethora of fashion knowledge. There are people that have amazing fashion knowledge that I admire. And do I want to take their brain? Yes. Am I working on finding a way? Yes. But it's the fact that you can learn all of that. Read books. Books are so many. I'll give you one recommendation. There's my favorite fashion book is called Fashion Conspiracy. And it gives you everything that you need to know about so many designers and the way the fashion was functioning. When you read those books, you're going to read stories that you never heard of on the internet and on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok. So be just what you said, be curious and don't stop exploring. Everything that you can read, you can put it to use. Just so you know.
Wonderful.
Wasn't that a perfect way to end, in a school?
Amazing.
In a school?
Both
be curious?
of you really remain curious and childish, and what you said, absolutely. Thank you both so much.
Thank you to you.
Thank you.